this is installment 1 of how to analyze a persuasive piece. So I'm going to take you through step by step how to actually do this, which should really help with unpacking our persuasive pieces for our KLT, as well as starting to draft our KLT. So our goals for today are to unpack the components of a great language analysis and to write our draft KLTs. Starting with, I guess, a look at what the KLT is asking me to do. Now, it requires you to annotate and analyse a persuasive article, including the written text and any accompanying visuals. So, what that means is annotate, and to annotate means to make notes, to note down your thoughts in relation to particular aspects of the text, to analyse, to use a critical lens to look at the different techniques that the author has used. A persuasive article, so obviously there are 4 to choose from. That shouldn't be a surprise to you now. Looking at the written text itself and the persuasive devices that are used within it, as well as any accompanying visuals and how they are used in the text. So in terms of where to start, let's zoom out first. Okay, so this looks like a lot of stuff, but really I've tried to break this down and make it as simple as possible and chunk it into its component parts. So what you need to do first, and pause this video and do this as we go along, choose and read your article. You were meant to do that for homework yesterday, and really you should have done that ages ago anyway. Your 4 options are the article about vaccinations and influences, teens and tech, the student climate strikes, or the state of origin debate. So you must choose one and you need to read that article. Now, we've already done a little bit of work, hopefully, on annotating that, but I'll come back to that a little bit later because once you've read your article and you've got a holistic picture about what it actually involves, what the author's key arguments are, we can start putting together our introduction using the template that we came across quite a few lessons ago now. Okay, so using this template, we're going to put together an introduction where we canvass the issue, we talk about the genre of the text, the title, where it was published, on what date, who it's written by, what their key argument is, and we look for 3 sort of key audiences that it is aimed at. Yeah, we've already done quite a bit of work on that, so I don't think you'll find that too difficult. Then you go on to break your article into chunks. And remember, chunks are those key and discrete bits of argument that go into making up the overall contention. And this is what you will actually base the body paragraphs of your analysis on. So you should have at least 3 chunks, but there certainly may be more than that. Step 4 is that you annotate your articles, and this is where you highlight your articles and you make comments looking for the various things that we've covered to date in this term's lessons. So what are the arguments being made? What visuals have been included, and what do you think the sort of purpose of those visuals is, and how have you deduced that? What devices based on emphasis are being used? So things like exaggeration and hyperbole, repetition, why might that be being used? Devices that rely on logic, so remember the inclusion of things like statistics, expert opinion, graphs and charts, diagrams, that kind of thing, and devices that rely on emotion, which we finished off last lesson. So all of those kinds of persuasive devices that really tug at the heartstrings. So the use of inclusive language, the use of emotional language and emotive language, anything that I suppose is trying to manipulate the audience's emotion. And you're allowed to refer back to previous lessons to make sure that you have taken stock of what we've covered. So that's what will happen in stage 4, your annotation. After you've done your annotation of the different chunks in the article, you may want to go back and sort of alter what you've deduced is the contention or the key argument of the author, and that's fine. Because after that, we then start to put together our paragraphs using the teal structure here. So We still have a topic sentence. So what is the writer arguing? We bring in some evidence. So how do we know what devices are being used by the writer, and how is this going to persuade the reader? So bit of an explanation about what you've included. Why is the writer doing this? What's their intended effect? And then, of course, a link to the reader. How is the reader going to respond to these particular techniques? Now, in your paragraphs, you need to follow the teal structure, but it's very likely that you are going to sort of repeat these three steps over again. So you might have one topic sentence, an EEL, and then another EEL in one paragraph, because there is very likely to be multiple persuasive devices to look at. Okay, so that's the breakdown. That's part one of this series. So this is, I guess, a very holistic view of what we need you to do for this KLT. Okay. Be good if I could figure out how to stop